You know, some video games are just that important. Some games invent a genre, others revolutionize them to the point that they're no longer recognizable. Super Mario 64 changed the way we see 3D platformers. Halo Combat Evolved gave console FPS games mass appeal. Final Fantasy Tactics basically invented SRPGs. And a little Blizzard-developed computer game named Starcraft changed the way we see esports today. If you're into esports at all, you know that a handful of games basically invented it. Counter-Strike, Quake, and Starcraft are among the most prominent examples. Unlike Counter-Strike and Quake, however, Starcraft is a stupidly complex game with an incredibly high skill ceiling and is to this day remembered as one of the premier computer games. Starcraft, if you didn't know, was the spiritual successor to Warcraft, the RTS game that had 3 titles to its name before it kinda got shut down and replaced with this game called World of Warcraft. You may have heard of it, but I mean, fans of Warcraft still wanted their RTS games. I mean, it's kind of tough when you take a mainline series and you kind of just transition the entire genre. Square Enix. Warcraft and Starcraft share many similarities even to this day, especially mechanically, but where the main difference comes is in the setting. Warcraft is set in Azeroth, a fantasy world with all the comforts and cliches of a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. But the world of Starcraft was something different, something much, much different. Okay, it was kind of similar to Ridley Scott's Aliens, but sure, it kind of felt like the love child of Star Trek and Aliens, but I mean, come on! Star Trek didn't have no siege tanks. What a lot of people seem to forget about Starcraft, even though the focal point of the game was intense high-skill multiplayer, it actually had a single-player campaign. And that campaign, despite being a little cheesy and cliche-y, was actually quite good. Because there are 3 factions in Starcraft, you got a story for each, all 3 of them telling their faction's side of the unfolding conflict. You played as the Terran, a group of space cowboys from Earth with a zero-tolerance policy for aliens, and any piece of technology that isn't a siege tank. You play as the vicious Zerg, a vast army of eldritch aliens obsessed with infesting or killing literally everything in the galaxy. You play as the Protoss, a technologically advanced group of aliens who are ironically more religious than the humans, unless you count fanatically listening to hard rock as a religion. The story was well received, but by no means the defining factor of the game. In 1998, the game got a little bit more campaign DLC in the form of Starcraft: The Brood Wars, which provided some more content for those hungry for story. It's worth noting that the Brood Wars was received with much more praise than the base game's story, and would make StarCraft DLCs a staple of the franchise. Anyway, where were we? Ah, yes. The year is 2010. Your dad just got his first iPad and he's wondering what the hell the thing is supposed to be used for, and Toy Story 3 is killing it at the box office. RTS fans are hyped at the release of what would become a worthy successor in the StarCraft legacy, that being StarCraft 2: Wings of Liberty. The pressure was on, and not just because the revolutionary gameplay had to be somehow better than the previous game. No, the story had to be just as good as well. Where StarCraft 1 launched with what was effectively 3 campaigns, StarCraft 2 launched with only uno, that being the Terran side of the story. It picks up 4 years after the events of the Brood Wars, following none other than our boy Jimmy freaking Raynor and his attempts to overthrow the Terran Dominion, hopefully allowing humanity to rise up on Wings of Liberty. Okay, I'm sorry, I just couldn't help it. Now, here's where I'm going to say a few controversial things, and before you rock it off to the comments section to type up a misinformed opinion about what I may or may not have said, I only ask that you hear me out. StarCraft 2 would get 2 major story DLC, that being Heart of the Swarm and Legacy of the Void, both being Zerg and Protoss playable campaigns respectively. Nova Covert Ops was there too, but I mean, that was like the one DLC no one stuck around for. Here's the deal. I do not think that the StarCraft 2 story is good. I think the StarCraft 2 story is amazing. Now, before you call me out on my heresy, allow me to say a few things. Number 1, when I say StarCraft 2 has an amazing story, I'm referring to the base game campaign, like Wings of Liberty. In my opinion, Heart of the Swarm was good but not great, and Legacy of the Void leaves the most to be desired. But vanilla StarCraft 2, man, dude, it's amazing as a story and as a game campaign. Playing StarCraft 2's campaign was one of my formative experiences as a child and is, to this day, one of my favorite video games of all time. Even if I still suck at it 8 years later, get good. StarCraft 1's story was good, but it was still in its early stages. Much of the surrounding lore was undeveloped, and the books didn't come onto the scene until after Brood Wars. If anyone asks you the difference between StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2's story, it's just 10 whole years of lore development. Now, this isn't to say that StarCraft 2's narrative is automatically better than StarCraft 1's narrative, but that its narrative potential was more fully realized. And man, bro, does it show. Starcraft 1's story mainly focused on the conflict between the Terran and the Zerg, and the Protoss were there as kind of like this third faction. While integral to the plot, the Protoss didn't really form the basis of the story of Starcraft like the Zerg-Terran conflict did. The whole game basically boiled down to the Terran and Protoss teaming up to fight the Zerg. I mean, Kerrigan joined up at 1.2, but I mean, believe me when I say she was never really in it out of the goodness of her heart. Starcraft 2 Wings of Liberty was quite a bit more nuanced when it came to threats to humanity. Yeah, I mean, there's always Protoss and Zerg, but now there's a fully established enemy Terran force as well. So instead of picking a faction and then having 2 other races to fight, you now had 3. But what if I told you that wasn't all? Turns out there's a 4th party in the mix. A dark voice in the void that wants to destroy everything, not just the Terrans, but literally everything. It introduces an element of mysticism into the game that was kind of lacking before. I'm sorry, what's that? You didn't like how Terran culture was heavily implied throughout Starcraft 1 but never fully realized? Well, hot dog, son, cause have I got a sequel for you! The way the Starcraft 2 Wings of Liberty campaign is structured is unlike any other RTS game I've ever seen. The way the game is structured, you basically have an RPG-style main mission hub where you can listen to character dialogue, watch cutscenes, replay missions, purchase upgrades, listen to music, play an arcade, hire mercenaries, research stuff, watch the news, play through a deadly prophecy using Protoss units, and inspect stuff to learn more about Terran lore! A lot more of the lore, while still kind of cheesy and space cowboy-y, is capitalized on, and you could really feel it in this game. Like, literally, the game tries to show it off at every chance it gets. You wouldn't think an RTS campaign would be so immersive, but it is. So the conflict's made stronger and better with the addition and development of several enemy factions, and the world building is overall better. So what else does StarCraft 2 do really well? Well, I'm glad you asked. Good question, because I'm definitely not done shilling for this game. StarCraft's story is not only told through gameplay, but also in a variety of different cutscenes. That being character skits, one rendered with in-game graphics, and pre-rendered CGI cutscenes. I cannot stress how well these cutscenes and cinematics stood the test of time. StarCraft 1 cinematics were good even for their time, but StarCraft 2 cinematics blast the majority of modern cinematics completely out of the water. Especially the CG cutscenes. I mean, between the dynamic character angles, the voice acting, the cinematography, the choreography, and the pure spectacle, StarCraft 2 cinematics are the best gaming has to offer even 13 years later, and like, no cap, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm playing some in the background here, but you should just go check them out for yourself. Like, they are super, totally sick. Blizzard has always been the top dog when it comes to making video game cinematics, and StarCraft 2 remains their best work of all time. Now, I am not here to make a comparison between the story of StarCraft 1 and the story of StarCraft 2. Just like G.K. Chesterton said, if I set the sun beside the moon, if I set the land beside the sea, if I set the town beside the country, if I set the StarCraft 1 beside the StarCraft 2, I suppose some fool would talk about one being better. Reality is that they're both great games, both as great stories and great RTS games. Both are free to play on Battle.net right now, and I'd rather have my cake and eat it too. But when it comes down to it, StarCraft 2 had the inevitable advantage of being made with a better realized world, more developed lore, more RTS development experience, and better hardware for graphics. The other expansions are worth playing in my opinion, but I'm willing to say that StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty campaign is one of the greatest sleeper hits in all of video game history. I mean, as far as a campaign story is concerned. It has depth, emotional payoff, great voice acting, incredible graphics, and outstanding cinematics. StarCraft 2 truly had, and still has, an amazing story. But anyway guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please remember to help me out by dropping a like and a comment in the comment section down below. And if you like what you see and you like to see more of what you like to see, then smash that subscribe button and turn notifications on so that you don't miss another video like this one. But in any case, I remain Van Galta, and I'll see you in the next video.